If I'm going to lose 100 pounds this year, I'm going to need a lot more than just motivation. This past weekend, like a lot of other places around the country, we had a crazy ice and snowstorm. All I wanted to do was lay on the couch, grab a blanket, eat comfort food, and watch movies.
Just get all fat and sassy.
So I had those little whispers in my head. You know what they are. It's just one day. It's just one workout that you're skipping. It's just one pint of ice cream. What's it going to hurt? And that's when I came face to face with the reality that motivation is important and it matters, but it's not enough. Welcome to episode 5 of the Stewardship Project. If you saw my first video, you know I've been overweight for most of my life. There have been times where I've been able to maintain for 5 or 6 months good eating habits, good workout habits. I've even lost 100 pounds once upon a time. Inevitably though, I always revert back to my old way of eating. I stop exercising until one day when I end up at this place where I'm unhealthy and I'm overweight once again. So one of the things I'm really interested in doing with this channel and with the Stewardship Project more broadly is not just documenting my path to losing 100 pounds, but also exploring my mind and my heart to figure out, why do I keep doing this to myself?
Why are you the way that you are?
And how can I instill better habits, rhythms, and routines, and even ways of thinking so that long after this year is over, I can continue to steward my body faithfully? One of the things I realized this weekend is that one of my ongoing issues is that of motivation. And by motivation, I don't mean it just in the sense of, like, what's your why? Why are you doing something? I mean the hype train, the emotional response of motivation. I'm sure you've seen the videos on YouTube and Instagram that are meant to hype you up and motivate you to exercise and to take care of your body. They kind of have the effect of the Rocky montage, where he's beating up a piece of meat in the back of a restaurant and he's running in the streets and Eye of the Tiger is playing. And those videos on YouTube, that Rocky montage, they do something to you. They stir something up in you that makes you want to go. That's the hype train. That's the feeling of motivation that I'm talking about. That's been one of my issues in the past, is living and dying by that feeling of motivation. And I saw it plain as day this past weekend. Now, don't get me wrong, motivation is important and it's helpful. And there's nothing wrong with that Rocky montage. It's epic. What I'm getting at here is that it's not enough. You see, that kind of motivation is emotional and it's situational. As long as your emotions are stirred up, then you have the motivation to make the good health choices you're supposed to be making. But the moment that those emotions start to dwindle, well, you're left out in the cold, pun intended. If my faithfulness depends on how I feel, then it's not going to survive real life. And this stewardship project is going to be a bust. The thing I realized about motivation is that it can be volatile. It's up one day, it's down another. But often motivation simply fizzles out little by little. So let's talk about little white lies. There's a passage in scripture that really rang true for me in a whole new way this past weekend. And it's from Proverbs chapter 6, verses 10 and 11. There, Solomon says, "A little sleep, a little slumber, a little folding of the hands to rest, and poverty will come upon you like a robber, and want like an armed man." Solomon gives us this picture of a lazy man who suddenly falls into poverty. At least it feels like it was sudden to him, but Solomon shows us that he wound up there little by little. He chooses a little sleep and a little slumber over diligent labor. And he does this enough days in a row until one day he winds up in poverty. I say this passage rang true for me in a new way because I really saw in myself, perhaps for the first time in my life, one of the reasons why I can lose a lot of weight and eventually gain it all back. And it's because I tell myself little white lies. It's just a little pizza. It's just a little ice cream. It's just one day that you're skipping the gym. It's not going to hurt anything. You've been working hard. You deserve a little sleep and a little slumber. This is so important for me to learn because motivation can carry me through a few of those days of a little sleep and a little slumber. But eventually I've trained myself to start taking a little bit more sleep, a little bit more slumber. In other words, I'll train myself to not just have a little pizza, but a little bit more, and then a little bit more, until eventually the gas tank of emotional motivation is going to run on empty. It might have felt to me like I woke up one day and I was suddenly overweight, but the reality was that it was those little white lies that I told myself that eventually pile up to bring me to this place of unhealth. And if I'm not careful, it's going to happen again. Now, I want to make sure to say that this doesn't mean I can never have a rest day. It doesn't even mean that I could never have some pizza or enjoy some ice cream with my children again. But I think one of the ideas in that passage that Solomon is trying to convey is that of intentionality. You see, it's not wrong that the man rested. It's that he rested when he was supposed to be working. Rest is a good thing, and I take rest days. The problem becomes whenever I want to fold my hands and take a little sleep and a little slumber on days that are meant for work. Because eventually, if I move enough rest days into work days and bad meal days into good meal days, it won't be long before there aren't really very many work days anymore and there aren't very many good meal days anymore. Again, motivation matters and it's helpful to get me started, but it's so easy for it to wear away little by little. In the same way that little decisions can stack up and derail you, little choices can also stack up and help you to endure. I learned that firsthand this weekend. One of the great benefits of having workout equipment in my garage is that even when it's icy and snowy outside, I can still go into the gym and work out. And one of the downsides of having workout equipment in your garage is that it's in your garage. So when it's icy and snowy outside, it is very cold. I took my meat thermometer, because I'm a genius, into my garage so I could see what the temperature was. Stuck the needle out and it got all the way down to 34 degrees. So this was another hurdle I had to overcome. I don't want to go work out in a very cold garage, but I had made a little decision a week ago that actually helped me this weekend. I started a new workout plan that only has me working out 15 minutes a day. Now, this plan has been a game changer for me, and I'll probably talk about it more soon. But for now, suffice it to say that knowing I only had to go in there for 15 minutes was a huge help for me to overcome my lack of motivation. The other little decision I've made recently is having my little boy in there with me while I work out. Now, he's only 4 years old and he does not realize this, but he helped keep me accountable this weekend. I know that he loves being in there with me while I work out, and I love having him in there, even though all he does is run around and scream his head off. But the other thing is that I know that he's watching me. He's watching me make the right choices even when I don't want to. And he's also watching me take the easy way out. And sometime in the future, whenever he's able to think back on this time in his life, I want him to be able to have a long memory of watching his dad choose the right thing even when it was hard. The other little decision I made is buying some energy drinks. I knew myself well enough to know that I was going to feel really lazy, so I thought the extra jolt of caffeine would help get me off the couch, and it worked. We also made a little decision to have some comfort food. My wife and I really like this Mexican soup called pozole. It's made with some chili peppers, hominy, and a piece of meat. So I threw a chuck roast on the grill and smoked it for a few hours. We cut it up and we put it in the soup, and I was able to have a comfort food that fit within my macros. It was satisfying and it was delicious. None of these decisions on their own are exciting or worthy of a hype video of any kind, but they didn't need to be. It was all of these little decisions that I've been making lately that came together and helped me to push through when I had no motivation. I'm learning that it's these simple little decisions that we make day in, day out that have long-term, lasting impact for better or for worse. And by God's grace, I'm learning to make more of those decisions with my health that lead to better outcomes. And that's what the Stewardship Project is all about. So what about you? In what ways do you see little decisions adding up to have a positive or a negative impact in your life? Comment below so that we can encourage each other. Before you leave, make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel so that you can keep up with the Stewardship Project. We'll see you next week.